time to fuel your business success. Welcome to Harmonious at Lunch. We're bringing you bite-sized advice and expert conversations to drive clarity and growth 5 days a week. Make sure you join our Facebook group at humanopt.com/lunch, where listeners like you and our guests hang out so we can find harmony in business together. If you're building a business, you're in the right place. Let's dive in.
Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. In today's episode, I think it's going to be a really fun conversation. We're talking about ageism in business, and we might even talk about how to stay feeling young and actually being young. So I'm excited to dive in. I have a special guest, Dr. Corinne Allman. Welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So this is an interesting topic. We'll say ageism, not one of the isms that typically get a lot of publicity and talked about a whole lot in the news, but it's a big one. And I think it's even more important in the workplace, because as you start to get up there in age, whether we talk about it or not, there are perceptions that come with that. So why don't you tell me, what do we see in the workplace? What do you see in the workplace as it relates to ageism?
So I think first, let's just define ageism, because you'd be amazed how many people have never heard of it. It's bias or prejudice towards someone based on their age, and it can affect people at any age. You might have bias against a young worker in the workplace because you think, oh, whatever the stereotypes are, they're lazy or all they want to do is be on social media, things like that. That would be ageism. But it's more common in the workplace to really think about it as we get older. Our laws about age discrimination really say anybody above the age of 40. So we see it happening as young as 40, but particularly as people approach what we might think of as retirement age, 65, when you're in your 50s and 60s, ageism becomes a big issue, because if you were to get laid off from your position in your mid 50s, it is very difficult to find a similar position with similar compensation at that age, because employers often look at older workers and have a myriad of stereotypes about them. Things like they won't want to learn new technology, or they won't work well with younger coworkers, or they won't be adaptable to our workplace culture. Just all kinds of things that really, each older worker is an individual with a unique set of skills and abilities and adaptabilities. And we have to really look at them as individuals. The stereotypes about the entire group are just that. They're stereotypes. They don't apply to every single person in that group.
I find it kind of funny that the ageism starts as low as 40, because I feel like everyone's always talking like, if you're under 35, you're not old enough. And if you're older 40, you're too old. So it's like, oh, cool. We have a 5-year sweet spot to do anything in the workplace.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't lose sleep over that one. If you're outside of that window, I'm personally outside of that window, so I guess I'm screwed.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So then how do we start to, wow, can't speak today. This is fun. How do we start to unpack this and understand, if we have this going on in our workplace, and how do we pull from the both ends of this spectrum to sort of balance out our workplace? Because there's wisdom that comes with age and experience, and there's also speed, agility, and new ideas that come with youth. And I don't think either should be neglected in any workplace. So how do we start to expand the range of age that we work with?
Okay, so first of all, I think you just hit it right on the head, in the sense that every generation, if you think about the different generations that are in the workforce right now, every age group has pros and cons to it, right? Everybody has strengths and weaknesses. And what you want to do in your workplace is take advantage of that. Realize that you don't want all 20-somethings. And you don't want all 50-somethings. You want diversity in that age range that you have in your workplace, because each group is going to have things that they're really good at and that maybe they're not so good at. And so it gives your workplace strength to have that range of skills and abilities. And they can also teach each other things, right? Your older worker may have better customer service skills because they've done a lot more working with people and navigating difficult conversations and difficult situations. And your younger worker may have more social media technology kinds of skills that they can help the older workers learn. So there's always give and take with the different groups that you have in the workplace, but having them there actually makes it stronger, not weaker. So the thing that I want us to realize that when you talk about ageism in the workplace, or just ageism in general, we are all biased, right? And we can't beat ourselves up about this. We have all been raised in this very anti-aging culture. This is surrounding us all the time, right? We're all seeing the anti-aging creams and lotions and, all the marketing that goes into that. We're all being exposed to this narrative all the time. So we're all biased. And the sooner you come to terms with that and go, okay, I know that I have this age bias. I need to be aware of it so that if I'm a hiring manager or if I'm setting up systems in my workplace that are going to screen resumes and things like that, we need to be aware that we don't want those systems to have age bias built into them. Or if I'm the hiring manager, I want to go, okay, I know that I'm probably going to be biased because of this culture that I'm living in. I want to make extra effort to evaluate these resumes or evaluate the people I might be hiring based on them and not on my stereotypes. And the sooner, once you become aware of this, of your age bias, once you start really paying attention to like the messaging that the culture sends us and how often you hear age related jokes and things like that, you will just be amazed at how often this is happening all around you. And so you really realize how saturated you've been. And that's the first step, right? Becoming unage biased, right? Age bias free is really an inside job. It starts with your own thoughts and your own perspectives. And once you start paying attention, you'll catch yourself and go, oh, why do I think that? Or why do I say whatever I say? One of my favorite examples is when people say it's your birthday and people go, oh, you look great for your age. Why do we do that? Why wouldn't you just look at somebody and go, happy birthday, you look great? Why do we have to say for your age at the end of it? Or you'll find yourself, saying ageist things yourself. I was in New York with my husband and I had AirPods I was trying to get to connect to my phone and they weren't connecting. And I said, oh, these are my old ones. They're just old and cranky. And my husband looked at me and he said, your whole thing is he's like, did you hear the words that just came out of your own mouth? And I did. I was like, yeah. Why do I say that? Like, why would that be my automatic response? So paying attention is the first step.
Yeah. You bring up hiring too. And it's baked in, right? Like if you look at a resume, which I hate doing, by the way. I in any company I've ever worked in, I never look at resumes because I think they're dumb. That's a different podcast episode. However, if you do, it's like, okay, well, I'll use my own age here. It says I graduated college in 2014. If someone else's resume says they graduated college in 1964, you can kind of tell how old they are, and there might be some immediate thoughts and biases that flood into your mind as a hiring manager, as a CEO, a leader. That kind of stuff is you're immediately tainting that person, the one you've judged. Like how do we get away from this stuff? Because like you said, it's baked in everywhere and it's baked into ourselves, our own perception. So if we look at that and we have that thought, it's there. Now we have to somehow get around it. How do we do that?
Well, if you are someone who is looking for a job, one of the things that's recommended is particularly, and I think this is actually true for anybody of any age, but particularly for older workers, is to make your resume age-free in the sense that you put your degrees, but you don't put the year you graduated on the resume.
Interesting.
Now, you still will be able to tell how much experience somebody has by how many things they list and the level, right? Are they executive level, things like that. But especially as we've gotten into the age of AI and AI screening resumes and things like that, making them as age free as you can, because the AI is built by humans. And if humans are age biased, then the AI will be too. So trying to take those things off of your resume so that it isn't automatically obvious how old somebody is helps protect people from automatically being dismissed simply based on their age.
Yeah, that's a great tip. So age free on our resumes, cage free on our eggs. It's
Yeah.
almost the same thing. Okay, but you actually shared an interesting idea with me before we started recording with our own perception of age. So you and your old cranky AirPods, the way we perceive it is actually going to influence our own lives or the way we treat maybe our close family members. If
Yeah.
you're a leader in an organization, you have a small business, and you're, we'll say, above 40, so now you're apparently old for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
How do we kind of retrain our own minds so that we have more longevity and we believe that we can lead and grow our company for longer? Because that's huge, is the way you think about yourself and your ability to lead and run a company is
Mm-hmm.
going to influence the success of that organization.
Yeah. So what we were talking about before we started recording was there's research that shows that your view on aging, your own internal, thoughts about it, really impacts how well this goes for you. So, for example, people who have a positive outlook on aging live on average 7.5 years longer than people who have a negative outlook. They walk faster. They're less likely to get heart disease. I mean, just there's all these positive outcomes that come along with a positive outlook on your aging process. And that makes sense, because if you are someone who is positive, right, you're looking forward to the years that are ahead of you, then you're more likely to go to the doctor, take care of yourself, exercise, eat healthy, because you're excited, happy, engaged with life, thinking about what's coming down the road. Versus if you're someone who has a very negative outlook, going, you're thinking things like it's all downhill and there's nothing I can do about it, and my best years are behind me. Well, then you don't take the steps and do the things to actually take care of yourself and make this go well, because you're like, well, what's the point, right? It's all going to suck anyway. So just that internal dialogue you're having in your own head about what am I capable of, because, and how does my age impact that, if at all, right? Does it matter? And if it does matter, well, what could be good about my age? And you mentioned earlier, like experience, the wealth of knowledge that we come with as leaders and older workers. There's a lot to be gained with all these additional years of experience. And sometimes we just kind of, in our youth obsessed culture, we kind of overlook all the things that you gain with these years of experience.
I know, me personally, maybe this is some sort of ageism as well. I'll just admit to it. But if I go into a company that we're consulting with, and we're helping them with their people realign their team, their roles, their leadership team, and I don't see gray hairs or no hairs, and all I see is youth, I get very nervous. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and the other way around. If all we see is the gray hairs and there's no youth, I get a little nervous. I mean, you have to have this distribution of age and experience, because that's everything in life has to be well rounded, right? I mean, look at nature. There are young trees and there are old trees in the same forest. There are
Mm-hmm.
young animals and old animals in the same tribe. This natural replacement effect that has to happen. But humans, for some reason, we tend to get away from what nature has designed, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just fascinating how that works, especially in the workplace.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting. Marketing, I think, is notorious for this, because they want to market They want to get people when they're young. Like they want to get consumers when they're young because then they think they'll get them and they'll be lifelong users. But when you look at marketing, there aren't that many older people in marketing agencies and advertising agencies because they're so like youth focused. But one of the biggest demographics in terms of money and resources that they can go spend money on things is older adults. And the fact that if you're marketing, you really ought to have some older people on your marketing team so that they can be telling you what the older demographics actually want, what kind of products they need, what kind of services appeal to them, because that is a big market share in terms of economics and who has money to spend. Young people, when you're in your 20s, you're broke. You don't have any money. But people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s have money to spend. But it's amazing how marketing teams just don't pay attention to that.
Yeah, it's always funny to see a marketing team of like 22-year-olds trying to market to a 75-year-old.
All they
Who are
can
not speaking the same language.
Well, and all they can do is think, because they believe the stereotypes about growing older, all they can think about is healthcare stuff. Oh, we're going to market, medicine or walkers or healthcare products to them. They cannot see older people as fully developed, well-rounded humans with lots of interests and activities and things that they want to do. All they can see is healthcare. I mean, it's amazing.
It's crazy. It's almost like once you turn 65, all you do is go to the doctor. That's the perception, I think, of people.
That's the perception, but that is not the truth.
No, definitely not.
I'll tell you a quick story. So my day job is as a care manager, and I help families kind of navigate the healthcare system. And when I started my company, I very naively thought I was going to be working with 40-year-olds who were caring for 70-year-olds. No, I'm working with 70-year-olds who are still working, volunteering, out, doing stuff, engaged. And those 70-year-olds are caregiving for their 95-year-old parents.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. Like, I was so wrong. And if I was wrong, because I have a whole background in working with older adults, if I was so wrong, everybody else who isn't thinking about this on a daily basis probably has some inaccurate perceptions too.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's a cool topic because, like I said in the beginning, it happens in the workplace. I think back to my own grandpa, actually. I think he retired. He was in his early 70s and he was in a leadership position, but nothing crazy. But he was kind of, it was the end of his rope, so to speak. The company sort of pushed him out a little bit. And he had, I promise you, another decade of really great work in him. He was mentally sharp. He's physically there. Once he stopped working, that's when his health caught up to him. I think we can extend our own life by just, like you said, just thinking and being young and being in a workplace, being productive. It's when we do adopt these theories of ageism, so to speak, that things kind of start to fall apart. It's a story that writes itself. And I wish more people didn't do that.
And your brain is a use it or lose it organ, just like your muscles are. And one of the worst things you can do is retire and then I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to just enjoy doing nothing. Your brain does not want to do nothing. Your brain wants stimulation. It wants challenge. And if you don't love your job, that's fine. Quit your job, retire. But then you need to be thinking about, okay, who am I going to be now? What's my next thing? It could be anything. It can be volunteering. It can be caregiving. It can be starting a business. It can be finding a part-time job, doing some consulting. I don't care what it is, but sitting on your couch or just playing golf every day or doing nothing, not good. Your brain needs stimulation and challenge. So you do see that quite often. If people retire and they don't adapt, they don't find a new plan or a new purpose, that is a very quick way to go downhill.
Yeah, I hear you. I hope to never learn the true definition of the word retire. It's not for me. But I have a couple of years before that. Anyway, Dr. Corinne, this was awesome. If someone wants to, I know you have a book, you have a lot of other things you do for people. Someone wants to learn more and explore how this is impacting maybe their company, their workplace, and how to get past it, where should they go to learn more about you and what you're up to?
Sure. So it's just my website, which is my name, CorinneAllman.com.
Perfect. I love it. That's on the screen. It's also down below in the description, show notes, wherever you're watching or listening. Please go check that stuff out. Connect with Corinne, social media links, all that stuff is down there. Corinne, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Wherever you're watching and listening, I hope you subscribe. And if you want to learn a little bit more about how you can maximize your potential at whatever age you're at right now, I strongly suggest you go to humanop.com. Go check out our app and unveil your natural potential. Age is but a number, and I promise you the things that you're capable of doing are far more than you think you can. So go check that out. We'll see you on the next episode of Harmonious at Lunch.
Another episode of Harmonious at Lunch in the books. I hope this episode made you think and you grabbed some actionable ideas to propel your business. Don't forget to like, comment your takeaways, and subscribe wherever you're listening so we can help more entrepreneurs just like you achieve harmony in their life and business. For cutting-edge tools that bring clarity to your people and processes, check out humanop.com to download our app today. See you next time.